What's up, poker players? Hope you guys are out there crushing it on the tables. I'm Daniel Kaufman, and day one of America's Card Room Online Super Series is in the books. We had 3 tournaments, 3 cashes. That's always solid, but we had minimal profit. Let's jump into the hand histories and see if we can't make some improvements on our game. We have Hold'em Manager up. Just taking a quick look at our session. 8 hours and 23 minutes. That's an incredibly high big blind per 100, almost 1,200 hands. Our EV1 is way positive. Our net 1 is negative, so I can already tell that we had some bad beats in there. Looks like a solid performance during the session though. So let's take a look at some of the bigger hands that we got involved with. The first one we're going to take a look at is from OSS number 2. Looks like it's pretty early in the tournament. Starting out the hand with a little bit more than 80 big blinds. We have Ace Jack offsuit in under the gun +1. We open to a little bit larger than 2x. Small blind calls as well as a big blind. We are going to a 3-way flop in position against both these players. Look to be both recreational by the first glance of the HUD, and that is a pretty amazing flop for Ace Jack offsuit. Goes check check on the flop, and we put in a continuation bet around 2/3 pot. Small blind calls as well as a big blind. Looks like we are ramping up for a big one here. 3 diamonds comes on the turn. That card doesn't matter, but it does put 2 to a diamond flush out there. Checks to us again. Again, we are putting in a continuation bet here, 2/3, which should set us up for a near stack to pot ratio of 1. We do get a call, almost 6k in the pot and 74.82 in our stack. The board does pair on the river, so 2 pair hands like King 10 or Queen 10 are now there, but our opponent checks to us, and our opponent doesn't show down well, calls a ton of rivers. You can definitely make an argument for jamming here, especially against a pretty deep stack here. Looks like I took a little bit more of a conservative approach on the river here and bet 2/3 once again. With this bet sizing, I think we could get a crying call from a queen. A king is definitely going to call. There's no way any 10 is ever folding here, but I think if we jam, we still get calls from any 10, possibly any king. So I think a jam probably would have been a better choice here. And we do get a call. We don't know what our opponent had, but we take down a pot of over 13,000 and coming close to doubling up with that one. The next one we're going to look at is the same tournament. It's actually only 10 minutes after that previous hand. And we have pocket 10s. We get an open from under the gun +2, a call from middle position, and we elect to just call here with the 10s in the hijack seat. I think that's a fine play. Cutoff comes along, and the big blind also calls. 5 of us going to the flop, and that again is a pretty amazing flop for us. We have middle sets, fairly draw heavy. We block some of those draws, having the 10 of clubs in our hand though. Checks around to middle position, who puts in a little bit less than half pot size bets. We just call here. Don't want to give away too much with the set, and we get a raise from the player to our left on us, and our opponent has pretty much committed themselves to this pot already. I don't see any of the big draws getting rid of their hand at this point, especially after putting in that raise. So I just go ahead and get the rest of the chips in, and we get a quick call from a set over set, a little bit of a cooler there. Just have to avoid a 5, which we do, and we take down this pot of almost 22,000 chips. Looks like we went some time without getting in a huge hand. Here's a big one. This is event number 3. We have pocket kings in the cutoff. Folds to us, and we put in a raise of a little bit larger than 2x. 3 bet from the button, and we get a jam from the big blind. Never folding kings here. Get the rest of the chips in, and the button comes along too. We are going 3 ways to a flop against 200 pairs. That's a scary flop though, but we're still ahead going into the river, and we wind up winning with a flush and knocking out 2 players with this hand, adding a lot of chips to our stack. A couple minutes later, we're gonna go back to event number 2. We have King Jack suited, playing from the big blind. We get an under the gun open to a little bit less than 2.5x. Button calls. We also complete, getting great odds here. Wind up flopping top top pair, king kicker, check, under the gun checks, and we get a bet from the button, 1600, a little bit less than half pot. We of course are going to be calling here. Under the gun also calls. 9 of hearts comes on the turn, giving us the heart draw now. Once again we check. This time we get a pot-sized bet from the button. This is the same player that we noted earlier as recreational. And once again, I'm going to say the same thing. Looks like he is overbetting quite a few turns. We do only have 84 hands, so that's a small sample size. But I don't see that 9 really improving too many hands. And it looks like he's saying that 9 definitely improved his hand. I guess it did because it gave him the heart draw. But with top pair, king kicker, and a heart draw, I'm not going to be folding here. I make the call, and we go to a river, which is the 6 of diamonds. And because every draw missed, we bet here. We're going to get all those bluffs to fold. And we're, of course, going to get called by any of the huge value hands that he has in his range. So we might as well keep the bluffs in there and check to him once again with the intention of calling any river bet. And he jams all in. We are calling quick here, and we take down this pot. He wound up missing his gutter and flush draw. That flush would have been terrible for us, and our chip stack is now up over 60k. I think at this point in the tourney we were in or near the top 10 for this event. Looks like we didn't have anything for a while, and here we go. Back to event number 2. We have pocket queens, this time playing from the cutoff. Folds to the hijack, who opens to a little bit more than 2x. We put in a 3-bet, make it 5,000 to go. Small blind calls, small blind is deep, and the cutoff and the hijack player folds. We are going heads up to a flop, already 12,000 in the pot. That's a pretty scary flop for pocket queens. Small blind checks. We are checking back, and that turns pretty nice for our queens, giving us a set. Small blind checks again. There are now a ton of draws out there, and our opponent hasn't folded to a turn bet yet, so let's make him pay for it. I think this bet sizing should have been a little bit bigger. I think we can squeeze more chips out for sure. But with this sizing, we still might get a call from some of the pairs that would be calling in this spot. He does call, and there is the river that we were looking for, giving us a full house, and the flush comes in. Hopefully that's what he has. He's got 26,000 left in his stack, but checks. I remember this hand too. I was thinking I should be going for some big value here, but decided to bet 2/3 pot, and I don't see the difference between this bet sizing and just getting his entire chip stack in. I think if he's gonna call this, he's gonna call for an extra 8,000 chips, so we probably should have just jammed, and he does make the call. We take down this pot of almost 63,000 chips, and now we're going to event 1. Looks like blinds and antes are getting up there. We're getting later in these tournaments. We have king queen offsuit in the small blind. It folds around to us, and we open to 3,000, 2.5x. Look at that hand we're up against. How is this going to turn out for us? Probably not good, but he just calls, disguising his hand a little bit there. And that's not the flop you want to see when you have aces and I have king queen. With this flop, I'm just going to be checking back and letting our opponent hang himself. He has a very high continuation bet here. And he does put in a bet, a little bit more than half pot. I get the rest of the chips in. Pretty draw heavy board. Don't want to let any flush draw or straight draw get there for cheap. And we get a quick call and see that we're up against aces. Just have to fade the board pairing. The 4 or an ace going into the turn. Now a 3 going into the river, and we do. Doubling up in this tournament. We were running pretty good in all of these tournaments. I think we were top 100 in all 3 at one point. This is an interesting one. I remember this one. Event 2, the 150k guaranteed. Folds around to the hijack, who opens with a min raise. 9-7 in the big blind. Getting great odds here against a deep stack, so I elect to call and see a flop. Wind up flopping top pair, check to the better, and he continuation bets. Half pot, going to call here with top pair. 4 comes on the turn, check once again. At this point, I'm just going to check call down. Bets half pot once again, make the call, and a 5 of hearts on the river. I check again, and this time our opponent decides not to put in a bluff and checks back. We win with the 9-7. against the 7 deuce. Interesting play there. These Sunday tourneys bring out some of the best players. Alright, here's a fun one. Event number 1, blinds and antes are pretty high again. We are sitting at about 14 bigs. Middle position jams, a little bit more than 15 big blinds. We of course are going to be calling with the jacks here. It is jacks against 7s. Great flop for our hand. We've been hitting those sets today. Scary turn though. Have to fade an 8 going into the river. We do, and we take down this pot, doubling us up. This was a good one too. King 10 offsuit in the big blind. Folds around to the cutoff, who limps. We check just to see a flop here. And the flop is queen high monotone. We've got an outside straight draw as well as the king over the board. I check. Our opponent bets half pot, or a little bit more than half pot actually. I think we can get a lot of hands to fold in the spot that would make a play like this. It's tough to put him on a solid range. In my mind, I was thinking ace jack, ace queen would raise pre-flop. King queen probably would have done the same. We block that though. We block a lot of the combos that connect with this. So it's really tough to put our opponent on anything right here. I really didn't think we were gonna run into an ace queen. Not the way I would have played it, but I jam all in here. We of course get a quick call. We still have quite a few outs going into the turn and river, and that's one of them. We have the nuts. Now we have to avoid an ace or a queen. We do, and we knock out another player, adding quite a few chips to our stack. Looks like this is when things start to take a turn for the worse. This is event 1. Blinds and antes are 5,000. We have about 60k when we start, so 12 bigs. Under the gun opens, just a min raise. Big blind calls, and we of course are going to be jamming here with the ace king. Under the gun rejams. We're flipping for 139,000 in chips. That's a great flop for us. Top pair, top kicker. Shit, there's more outs. And there's that card on the river. And we get eliminated from this tournament. We did cash. I don't remember what our payout was, but I think we were, I'm gonna guess and say like 300th or 400th place. I think there was like 6,000 that started this tournament. Some big Sunday tourneys yesterday. Fun stuff. And now we're going back to event 2. Blinds are 2,000, 4,000. Tipper Gore, under the gun +1. Open jams for over 20 big blinds. Interesting play. I'm not going to be folding the ace-king suited here with my 28 big blind stack. I rejam, and we are in a great spot here to knock out a player and take down a pot of 203,000 chips. I guess it's less than that, 171,000 chips. Great flop for us. That is an unfortunate turn for us. We need an ace or a king on the river. Doesn't come. Our chip stack is greatly reduced. We take a hard one right there. That was an interesting play with the 20 big blind open jam from under the gun with Queen Jack suited. Tipper Gore. I think I actually saw that name on the final table. I looked last night before I went to bed. Let's see if I can bring this up. What event was that? 2. Bring up event 2. Get rid of the HUD here. Yeah, sure enough. Tipper Gore, 6th place. That bastard. Took down almost $6,900. Probably should have been eliminated on that hand. What are you going to do though? All you can do is play good poker sometimes. And a couple hands later, this is where we were sitting with our chip stack about to go into the blinds. I elected to get it in here with 9-7 suited, a little bit more than 5 big blinds. We get a call from the button. It's a great flop for us. Better turn, drawing dead going into the river. And we double up, keeping our hopes alive in that tournament. And a little bit down the road, looks like blinds and antes are up again, one level further in. This time we pocket 9s, sitting at about 9 big blinds. We open jam from under the gun +1. We get a rejam from the button. We are in another great spot to double up here. Double up would put us at a little bit less than 120,000 chips. Just have to fade an ace on the turn or river. Shit. Happens every time. Can't hit a 9. And we are knocked out, finished in 262nd place out of almost 4,600. Made a good run at it. Got our chips in the middle with the best, and just couldn't hold. And this is how we were eliminated from event number 3. We jam with ace king. Get coolered here by aces. I guess we weren't eliminated. We still had chips left, but not very many. And 1 minute after we were eliminated from event 2, we got involved with this hand. This was the Punta Cana Poker Classic. I think this is the only hand that we have from this tournament in this video, but I played this one as well. This was the 4th tournament. This one was getting down there too. I think we were down below 50 players. Top 7 got the Punta Cana package. I think it started out with like 500 players, and we are sitting at 16 and a half big blinds. With the pocket jacks in the small blind, we get an open from the cutoff player. Jam the jacks here. Quick call from the queens. Another cooler, and we get eliminated from this tournament. We didn't have any crazy deep runs, but we did go 100% for in the cash ratio. I guess that's something to lean on. Means we were playing good. Our EV net 1 was still positive. I think we played pretty good poker. I think we missed out on some value with the hands at the beginning of the video. Definitely could have been betting a little bit more with those, but I think that was a solid first day of the online Super Series. All these tournaments were played on America's Card Room. Link for America's Card Room is down in the video description. If you haven't signed up yet and want to make a deposit, you can get a $1,000 deposit bonus when you use the code DKPoker. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the future videos. Thinking about playing some live poker tonight. Might have to bust this camera out and take it to the casino. Do a little vlog action. Definitely going to be doing that soon. Experimenting with some different stuff on the channel. Let me know what you guys want to see, what you enjoy seeing. Going to be playing some more events in these online Super Series, and hopefully going to be streaming some of it too. I was planning on streaming yesterday, but wound up getting knocked out of a lot of these tournaments around the same time, unfortunately. I think our luck will turn. We're going to have some deep runs. We're going to have some big cashes. As always, links are down in the video description. Hit that like button. Leave those comments down below, and I will be back soon with a new video. But until then, I'll see you guys out on the virtual felt. Be free.